Oh, welcome, everybody. Welcome, Linda and Ann and Julia and Robert Canfield, Patrick. Carol Crooks, Rains Cohen, which is what my name says, but I'm Betsy Morris, and we have Robert McGarrian, our treasurer. So some of us are here at the West Berkeley Public Library. We're experimenting slowly with getting back in person and online, a hybrid meeting. We also have, I think I said Hallie Hammer in the room. I'd like to first, may I introduce, Alan Gould is here. We don't often get, anyway, great as well. So I'm seeing a couple of newcomers. First, let me welcome our guest, Ann Squires. She'll be speaking in a little bit. But I also want to welcome Robert Canfield. And would you like
We're
to
getting feedback.
I don't know about that. I don't hear it.
It may be because there are three machines.
No, only the one should be on audio. So if anybody who's in the meeting can mute themselves when they're not speaking, that might help.
But we're trying to.
Well, we people on Zoom are getting feedback.
So she is muted. Are you on the phone as well, Julia? Are you on another device?
Yes, Julia,
Because
you are on twice. That's the issue. I'm going to knock off your second connection. I'll hopefully get the right one. Try this.
yes, so we still see your face, Julia, but your second device is off. Do you hear feedback now?
No.
Okay, great.
Well, I hear my own feedback. I don't hear yours anymore, which is the important part.
Yes. She's disappeared now.
The
You know, I think we'll just have to live with this. And I would like to at least start with some introductions. And Robert, you're a new face to me, but maybe you can say what brought you here today. A few words.
I am in Maine, Portland, Maine. I heard about the Gray Panthers about 6 months ago. I'm an associate professor at Rhode Island School of Design, and I think I saw a flyer or some such floated across my desk or in my office, and I became very interested. I had been interested years ago as well. My parents were both somewhat involved, and so here I am.
Well, this, if everyone wants to give him a wave, and I would just say, Robert, let's stay in touch after the meeting for two reasons. One, I can hook you into the national networks. And I can also, I used to live in Rhode Island. In fact, my husband Rains and I get there usually every year or two. So it would be great to maybe meet up. We have,
Yeah,
family in the next state over. Anyone else? I see Lynn Daspis, who I know is outside of California, but also a new interested returning potential member. Do you want to say a few words?
Yeah, I was in California in the 70s and I remember the Gray Panthers and decided that maybe it's time to re-look at this organization as something that can help with social justice. So I hooked up with
Betsy.
Betsy, and then went to the national meeting the other night. And I guess I may be trying to start a group here in Prescott, Arizona. We don't have any chapters in Arizona, so I think it's about time we get one. Thank you. Betsy, you're muted.
So Hallie, maybe speak again.
She lives in, she might be interested in doing something. She's very active.
I've got the camera covered, Betsy.
Okay. Hey,
Norma, we're having the meeting now.
I'll send it to her.
Okay.
Okay, Rain's just sending it.
Anyway, if you can find Nancy
Okay,
Ibsen,
bye-bye.
if not, you can email me and I'll send you her information. My email is halih@yahoo.com. But she might be interested if someone's doing that.
cool. Yeah, and if there's, Lynn, if you didn't,
Okay, I didn't know you were talking to me, but HLI, what did you say? For the email?
But you want to put my email in the chat?
yeah, Lynn, you're breaking up. We couldn't hear you respond, but I'm gonna go ahead. I'm sorry, third time's the charm. I put it in chat, what Hallie is telling me.
Yeah, I can get you in touch with
Is
Nancy
Nancy,
Ibsen.
IBSEN,
Yeah.
Prescott, Arizona.
Oh,
Yeah, her grandmother was Malvina Reynolds. I don't know if you know who Malvina Reynolds is. Did you ever hear the song Little Boxes?
Of course,
Yeah.
I know Malvina Reynolds. I grew up with Malvina. I mean, I didn't grow up with her, but I grew up listening to her
Uh-huh.
and singing her songs.
Yeah, with her daughter Nancy and Nancy's daughter. Also Nancy is in Prescott.
So what is Hallie, what is your number or email?
LH@yahoo.com.
I got it.
you're gonna put it in the chat, right?
Yep, it's there now.
Thank you.
I also, see, Linda, remind me, I'm sure we know each other, but I'm drawing right this minute.
Actually, I'm Linda Harvey, and I don't think we do know each other, but I've known the Gray Panthers for a long, long time. I was really involved with them in the late 20s when I worked at Bishop Senior Center in downtown Oakland, and they had an office in our same building. And we ran a Title VII nutrition site for seniors. And I forget the woman's name who was at the Gray Panthers, but she told me one of the most important things I've heard in my life. I told her I was really nervous to speak in front of the group about things because we would feed about 150 seniors a day there. And
Wow.
she said, stop thinking about yourself, think about what you have to say. It's really important. I love that. I really used that many, many times since. So anyhow, I know about you guys. And I know Hallie too from music.
Yeah,
Hi, Hallie.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, it's a good time to be together because there's so much stuff going on around us
Yeah.
that,
Still
you
on
know,
the call?
excuse
Nancy,
me,
is Nancy still on the call? Nancy,
who is still on the call?
Nancy Ibsen?
She,
no, she wasn't on the call, but she lives in Prescott. So I'm going to get the two of them hooked
Oh,
up.
okay. So is it her sister or her mother who lives in Berkeley on Parker Street?
Nancy Schimmel, she lives in Berkeley.
Okay, I got
Nancy
confused.
Schimmel is part of Acapella.
Yeah, I know who Nancy is. That Schimmel. Okay, yeah, God, never mind.
Malvina lived on Parker Street, Nancy's
I-
mother.
Yeah. Oh, that's Nancy Schimmel's mother.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Nancy Ibsen is Nancy Schimmel's daughter, or a niece, maybe, or something.
so I'm going to actually, because we actually have more to say to each other. And the last hour of the meeting is just us announcing and talking and exchanging more freely. So as a way of introducing our guest speaker, and I'll just say Adrian Aaron's in the house. RSVPs can be helpful, but we have
lots of food, we're good.
we're good. So I'm gonna show a short video that Rain's found that's on the origins of the over 60 clinic, which our founders started. And we are still honored by staff and on the building where the Over 60 Clinic is in Berkeley. Yeah, yeah, on Alcatraz and Sacramento Street. So I'd say that because Medicaid's under fire, and it just so happens that our guest speaker today is Ann Squires, who was, and I will introduce you after the movie, Ann, or you can start talking after the video. It's fairly short. Rains, are you going to show it or am I going to show it? Oh my goodness. So while I do this and call up the window, I want to say that, well, first off, who here goes to Over 60 Clinic?
I do.
Okay. Just one? Two? No? No.
Yeah.
Just one. But historically, there's a lot more. And if, and you know, they see thousands of patients there.
Penho is giving us a thumbs up.
Patrick.
He goes to over 60.
Great. And we're also have Norma on the line today. Great. So I'm going to suggest we do other introductions and hellos after our video and our speaker. And our speaker was, were you an intern with Gray Panthers? Or
Was
were
a
you
member of the
Are
Gray
you
Panthers.
okay? So back in well, we'll find out after the video. I think in the late 70s, early 80s, Ann wrote the first grant, or at least the successful grant. That's the story I've heard. You wrote the first grant that opened the Over 60 Clinic as a street front volunteer and professional first community clinic for seniors in the country. So that's, you know, Ann will correct anything I'm saying, but that is my understanding. And forgive me now, I'm going to find what happened for some bizarre reason. It wants a password from me. And I have no, my computer has gone wild. It's gone rogue recently. So now, okay. So let me share this with you all. Yeah, and this video is on YouTube, by the way. And if you do YouTube Gray Panthers Berkeley,
You can paste the link later.
yeah, maybe you can put it in chat, Rains.
I can't.
You can't. Wait a minute. You're my tech guy. You're the all right, let me share. Let me share. And there it is. It's not. Okay.
Remember not to max the screen.
Okay.
Okay.
It's unfortunately a problem.
Yeah, so stop maxing.
I wasn't. Okay. 3 documentaries.
Off the edge of the, is that the issue?
Well, it wasn't when I was looking at it a minute ago. It was right in front of me. Easy as pie to see.
Can't drag it to the top of the screen. It won't.
Because I don't see it anymore. So let's get out of here. Sorry, if we all had another lifetime, I would practice.
Stop sharing and reshare.
I think I have to because I can't find.
Make sure you click the little boxes that have
Sure,
shared computer sound.
Now I'm just trying, okay. I have a video, I have a screen in front of me. It's not max shared. I'm gonna try if anyone else wants to come over and,
Share the whole screen. It's not sharing.
well, right now, I just have to go find share again. I have to switch back and forth. And there it is. Okay. Share. All right.
We're done. Looks There you good. There it is. Is the audio on?
I will turn the audio on.
Well, I mean, when you hit share with the audio.
No. So, okay, there it is. Audio is on, video is on. I'm gonna start this thing
Gotta put it in. Okay.
and single payer is the way to go.
Bring this online.
I'm Lillian Rabinowitz
one of the founders of Berkeley Gray Panthers and the Over 60 Health Center. The Over 60 Health Center and access to health care for everyone has been one of the most important of all our activities. We have fought together with other organizations for universal health care that would cover everybody without exception. At the same time, we realize that the elderly have special needs, particularly those seniors with low income. The health center traces its roots back to the activism and tireless advocacy of the Berkeley Gray Panthers. From its beginnings in 1976 in a small Berkeley storefront, Over 60 became the first geriatric health center controlled by consumers and professional supporters.
I would do anything that's necessary to keep an older person in their own home and independent and as healthy as possible. We really don't like to see our older users have to go into nursing homes or other kind of institutions. We want to do whatever we need to do to keep them in their home. It's all there allows the different opinions to be expressed as well as the different disciplines to give their input. And it results in all the 60 patients being able to maintain their dignity and their quality of life in their own home.
Through its main practice in Berkeley and the new site in East Oakland, 4,000 Alameda County seniors receive services which include medical care, dental care, podiatry, psychotherapy, social work, and health education. Education is provided when required, all geared to the special needs of the elderly. Of its Gray Panther founders, Over 60 continues to offer hope that one day everyone can grow older with dignity and independence.
Filmed in 1996.
Wow.
Is that it? Okay, so Rains, something, oh,
I could see that right.
all right, there we go.
He knew about then.
Yeah,
You too, Matt?
we were taking a class at UC for something.
Yeah, I forget which one it was.
Yeah.
That's
Something
great.
For license, for getting my
Yeah.
teaching license.
Great. So, wow, well, we have history in the room. Oh, that's excellent. Okay, so we're now turning this wonderful meeting over to Ann Squires to inform and inspire, or just tell the stories you want to tell, Ann. This is your time. Really going to appreciate your being available. I'll just say I met Ann because I was asked to be on the board of trustees and of the Strawberry Creek Lodge Foundation, right? The foundation that, and you'll say if you
That's the
you'll
whole
say
story
more.
itself.
And I hope you'll get to it because we are having a social to the best of my knowledge, on May 14th, where Gray Panthers is having a social and a public meeting at Strawberry Creek Lodge. Details to be revealed. But anyway, introducing Ann Squires, who's served many years as a professional fundraiser and developer for many nonprofits, and then somewhere in there moved into Strawberry Creek Lodge and became the chair of the board of trustees. And that's where I met her and learned of her background, and it feels so privileged to be able to serve with her. And I'll turn it over to you, Ann.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, so I became one of the founders of the Gray Panthers of the East Bay when I attended a Maggie Kuhn presentation at the Pacific School of Religion, where I was a student. And you may not know of Maggie's background in the church, but she, along with a woman named Ann Bennett, who was married to one of PSR's professors, was talking about the Gray Panthers. And I think it's gotten lost that the Gray Panthers were age and youth in action. And I'm afraid that having the name of the Gray Panthers meant that the youth part was going to be lost. But we at the time did have many youth members, and we met for 2 or 3 years before the Over 60s Health Center came into being. And we did protests. We met regularly at Lawrence Moore Manor and had really wonderful social gatherings and all kinds of opportunities to protest. We were protesting in San Francisco when they were tearing down the housing for the in Chinatown. So we were more protesters, and we had a lot of outspoken members, and one of whom, named Isabel Van Frank, was a regular spokesperson for free clinic for the elderly. She always said there were free clinic for youth and there should be free clinic for old people. Well, Isabel was somebody who would speak loudly, and Lillian was somebody who would organize. And at that time, speaking of organizers, Tish Summers, who organized the Older Women's League, was also very involved with us. And we had close ties to Maggie and the national office, and we really were rolling. When it came time to write the proposal for the Over 60s Health Center, I worked with a young doctor and another wonderful social worker, and we came up with a plan that would have 4 staff members, all paid at the same rate, and the goal was to have screening for people over 60. And the clinic would be specifically to do blood pressure screening and also to be to check meds. And it was a relatively simple, well, quote unquote, simple. So we got grants. We got a CETA grant. This was a time when all the clinics started then. The Over 60s, the Asian Health Services, Clinica de la Raza, and other community clinics, because there was money available. And they were just about to start the Department on Aging. So it was the golden age of beginning that kind of service. So we got this grant, and then Lillian said, oh, that would mean we'd have to run a clinic. And there was no interest in running a clinic. None of us were prepared to run a clinic. And so we actually contracted with the City of Berkeley Health Department to begin that clinic. And it was amazing that one of the first patients at the clinic was one of our committee members, and she amazingly went to have her blood pressure checked and was on verge of a stroke. So we all felt that we were definitely doing our good work by starting that clinic. And I personally really benefited from getting this grant, because part of the grant was to be active in the county, and we were trained by 2 guys that seemed very unlikely, but every Tuesday for several weeks, I and all the other community clinic staff people, not just ours, but the others that I mentioned, went to the session with these two guys, one kind of deaf, Hank Grasso, and the other guy wearing a string tie. They were just fundraising trainers. And so I went regularly, and I thought, well, this is kind of a good thing. And now I find that that was the forerunner of the National Fundraising School. And they were just trying out their materials on us. And it was such a gift because that got me off on another tangent to do fundraising. And that became my career. And so as much as I loved the Gray Panthers and actually not only wrote the proposal for the Over 60s Health Center, but also for the Ombudsman program. And we founded the Ombudsman program. So we were very involved in all kinds of nursing home and healthcare issues. And I have to say, there were so many, Terry Dowling and Leslie Quass, some other young professionals who were hard at work on all of these issues. So pretty exciting times and just opportunities because there was CETA money available to hire people. And so we were able to do a lot at that time. And Lillian and I were best buds.
And
yeah.
There's some chat going on. And what year was this? So if you are able to just. And then we'll get to questions later.
Okay.
Sorry.
I met Maggie, I think around 1972. And that's when I started seminary. And I think she came and talked to us then. And so that group began meeting soon after she showed up. And so that's, and we wrote the proposal for the Over 60s Health Center in 74. That's when that funding got started. And as I said, there were so many opportunities. I had never written a proposal. I decided I would just find the most bureaucratic person I knew to write that proposal. And I took it to one of the members of the Gray Panthers and I said, here's our proposal. And she said, now what is it we're trying to do? And then she wrote 1, 2, 3, 4. And I thought that's the first good proposal writing workshop I was ever in. And I became known for my terrific proposals because I could say, what are we going to do? 1, 2, 3, 4. And everybody loves the clarity of that writing. And so I benefited so many times over. So I also was elected to the board. I actually was invited to apply for the executive director of the National Gray Panthers. And I went back there for an interview. And what I learned was that this is a very churchy organization. And I grew up in churchy organizations, so I know how they work. And so the National Gray Panthers person was one of the friends of friends. And so I didn't get the job. But just about a year or so later, I was at the National Convention and where I was the treasurer of the board. And I didn't quite get it that I was supposed to be able to travel back there at least 4 or 5 times a year to be at the board meetings. So I sort of failed in the treasurer role. And in fact, when we went to a National Gray Panther meeting, Maggie said that year the Gray Panthers were going to be in the red. And of course, with my fundraising training, I said, well, wait a minute. Everybody who cares about this organization is here. Let's ask them for money. And everybody said, oh, we can't do that. We can't do that. They've just spent all this money to come to this conference. And so the folks, Maggie certainly wasn't going to ask anybody for money, and the people on the board weren't. However, they said Lillian and I could. So Lillian went up at dinner, and we raised, just at that crowd, $1,500 that got the National Gray Panthers back in the black for that year. So I guess in a way, my treasurer responsibilities were met, even though I couldn't be at the meetings or be involved in the way I maybe should have. And I just want to say also that it was great to have all our relationships with Tish and Milo Smith, who started Tish's great thing was don't agonize, organize. And I remember seeing a movie of her once, and she said, did I say agonize, don't organize? So she was really very sweet, very fun. And let's see, what other stories should I tell you? Or maybe I can let people ask a few questions.
So
Question.
We had several renditions of leadership in over 60s for a while. And I sort of went off to be a fundraiser and wasn't as involved in the organization or the board of the Over 60s Health Center. In fact, a few years after we started it, Roger Sanchek and Lonnie ran the Over 60s Health Center, and they did come to me to ask about getting our nonprofit status. And I remember driving up to Sacramento to register us as a nonprofit. So that was a few years after we got those grants. And so there was some low-key history before we really became a going concern with lots going on.
so are you seeing the hands? Would you like to just call on people?
Oh, no, I'm not seeing the hand.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I'll take care of it. There were some questions in stack, but I'm going to start first with Hannah Carpolo and then Lynn.
Thank you. Thank you, Betsy. Thank you, Ann. Very nice to meet you. I was curious about the Ombudsman program and how that's developed in Alameda County. As far as I know right now, that Ombudsman is only for nursing home residents to make complaints about, for a mediator to deal with nursing home residents. And
yes.
It's something that, it's something as an IHSS worker and advocate, I'm very interested in seeing an ombudsman program for IHSS. And I was curious, do you have any thoughts about it?
Well, at that point, we were, let's see, Citizens for Better Nursing Home Care was our organization. And I was a director for about a year. And then it went off. But it has always been just nursing homes. And because that was the legislation, that was the funding. And I worked in the county office for the first little while, and then we got our own offices. But it was all funded federally. So I guess it would take new legislation, which was something that Lillian and I worked a lot on. She and I would meet maybe a couple of times, well, I guess once a week. And those meetings were great. I would go to her house and she would have an agenda and we would decide where we were going to, what meetings we were going to go to and where we were going to lobby. And then she'd go down her list and then she'd say, well, that's enough for today. And so she was such a good organizer. And so that was how we started the ombudsman program. And Isabel Van Frank, the woman I was talking about earlier, was our first chair. And that was a difficult relationship because Isabel didn't understand how boards work. We'd have a board meeting and the next day she'd call me up and say, well, those decisions were all wrong. and expect to be able to change them. And I would say, but the board just decided this. And she said, Ann, I just don't understand you. So that was not a great relationship, I would say. But she was definitely a mover and shaker and an idea person, but not so much an organization person.
Wonderful. We are actually getting on the wall a picture of you now, Ann.
Oh.
And eventually we'll be able to see the other folks around you. But Lynn and then Carol. Lynn had a question and then Carol.
Hi. I just want to thank you for the ombudsman program because as a nurse, I've used that here in Arizona to connect people up in nursing homes and other atmospheres. But what I wanted to ask you, you wrote the grant for the okay, refresh my memory. You wrote the grant for over 60
Health Center.
Yeah. So in the current financial atmosphere, do you see grants being allowed? I mean, is it worth going after things by grant?
I think it really depends on, of course, what funding sources are available. I mean, at the time, the San Francisco Foundation and the East Bay Community Foundation, and, you know, there were a number of foundations that were really interested. And of course, we could say that this was the first and, you know, it had a big appeal. And also, you know, they wanted to fund some stuff in the East Bay. And so it just depends on what the
It was kind of ripe then, if I remember.
Oh, very, very.
Especially in California.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you.
Carol?
Sorry, I was answering members trying to get into the meeting. Was Isabel Von Frank the woman that had a cane and liked to tap it?
No doubt, no doubt.
In 2008.
I think tap might not be quite the word.
Yep, that was her. I remember her from when I was in the program in the group in 2008. She's stuck with me.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure she would have been alive in 2008.
Oh.
Yeah. Because, I mean, she was well into her 80s, and this was 75, you know.
Oh,
So,
no.
but the same spirit.
Adrian here in the room and then Linda.
I'm wondering if the Berkeley Free Clinic had anything to do with the founding.
There wasn't a relationship, but certainly an inspiration. Because, I mean, that was the example that we had to provide free services for people over 60. But I don't remember meeting people or who were running the clinic. at the time. And of course, geriatrics was a new field, you know, hard to believe now.
Linda?
Oh, hi. Ms. Squires, I just wanted to express my gratitude to you for the work you did for the Over 60 Health Clinic. I said I worked at Bishop's Senior Center, which is no longer, but it was a nutrition site in downtown Oakland on Franklin Street. And we fed around 140 people a day, Monday through Monday through Friday. And I was hired as a supportive services coordinator, and I had no idea what I was doing. But I knew about the Over 60 Health Clinic and the Gray Panthers, and we got them in there. The nurses came. And once a week, we had 2 or 3 nurses that came, and sometimes they went out to people's homes. And we were serving a low-income population there. And some people had not seen a doctor for like 40 years or more. And they were able to do just amazing work. It was the best program we had there. It was the most popular. And I still have a memory of one of the fellows that used to come every day. He was sitting at his kitchen table, and he would feed squirrels. They would come and he put little things out for him and open the window, and he got bitten by a squirrel. And that was a big thing for the day. We had to call the Over 60 Health Clinic and say, what do we do? What should he be doing? And I mean, it was, the nurses were so receptive, and the seniors loved them, and vice versa. It was really great to be involved back then. It was from 1978 to 80, so that I was there.
Yeah,
So
the program grew fast because there was so much need, and the staff were just amazing. I mean, they had dreams beyond anything we founded them to do. And they just made it happen.
So there's a question in the chat. Linda, are you complete for now?
I just wanted to say I agree with you. They had great personalities, and they could really, really relate to the folks there, who were all a little quirky, I have to say. And it was just a wonderful place to work. So thanks.
And that was a center in Oakland?
Downtown Oakland. We provided nutrition under the federal, it was Title VII, that provided free meals for seniors.
But Over 60s had a big outreach, was one of the first beyond the core staff that was hired. I know we really worked at outreach for that from the clinic.
It worked.
So I had my hand up, and I'm going to call on myself. But I really would like to start a conversation about what organizing would look like again. You know, there is organizing going on, and I would like to know a little more, any of your top lessons. And but I actually have 2 other practical questions. One is, Hannah was asking, when did Over 60 become part of lifelong medical, if you know that? And
Over 60 was the anchor.
Yeah, but when did it expand? When was it taken over to become part of a whole medical care system in several counties? And then my other question is, I'd really like to know a little more if Gray Panthers had a relationship with the Black Panthers right there in nearby offices. So is the legend that I've heard, that it was inspired by the health clinics that Black Panthers had started in the 60s.
Well, I'm not the person to ask about the history of the health clinic. Even right after it got incorporated, I wasn't so involved then. Many of the members of the Gray Panthers were still on the board of the Over 60s Health Center. And certainly Lillian was. But I wasn't in, I went off to be a fundraiser. I actually, in 1980, I became the fundraiser for the Asian Art Museum. So I was not in geriatrics or health. So I can't answer those questions.
Okay.
And as far as the Black Panthers were really doing a lot of community outreach at that time. And I can imagine that there was a close relationship between the communities that Over 60s was serving. And I think you would want to call Marty. Have you had Marty Lynch speaking? Because he certainly would know more of the history. And I think he was
Thank you
responsible
for
for
reminding me.
lifelong.
He is in our phone list, but he wasn't able to speak He wasn't able to speak 3 or 4 years ago.
Uh-huh.
Had Lucinda Bazile, the deputy vice president of Over 60, come and speak to us.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think Marty was really responsible for the growth of the clinic and probably brought it into lifelong, but I don't know.
He was in the video. Yeah, thank you. More questions? Hannah has another hand up. Yeah.
Well, I just want to make a comment that I put it in the chat, but I know a couple of nurses there, and I believe one of them is in his 70s. The other one I know is in her 80s. She's my niece's mother-in-law. And I just love that that they let them continue to do the work that they love, and that there isn't the same kind of discrimination that older nurses experience in other workplaces.
Yeah, I mean the joy of listening to Maggie Kuhn when she was on her her outrage about all the ways that we're discriminated against, and you know, she always said that it was age and youth in action because those were the two ends of the spectrum that weren't listened to, and so that's why it was important to hook the two up. Sure.
I'll say we have a new member, actually a renewed member, Aiden Hill, who joined back in 2000, I want to say 19, and then recently joined again. And he is, he was a student at Cal. Now he is working at the mobile outreach team portion of the Over 60 clinic. In other words, it's that really reaches out to our homeless neighbors. And he's been committed to that work. Wow. I did more on top of my game. I would have called him and said, you got to, he's at work, presumably right now. So one of the reasons this is so timely, Ann, this is not just Women's History Month, women making history and Gray Panthers memories, it's that the attacks on Medicaid and Social Security and food stamps, sorry. There were people sharing my laptop. You know, that I got a call today from one of our members who was really panicked since there seemed to be a change in the dates people are getting their Social Security checks, and there's not a lot of clarity online. I mean, the website, the national website is not helping. They're closing down the offices. I don't know if the Berkeley office, and I can feel the need for, even though there's protests and rallies and it's no more kings and, you know, every slogan we've ever had. So far, I don't think people understand that this is bread and butter, life and death for folks who depend on their health care coming, you know, being supported and their Social Security being regular. So I'm looking for I am not a born organizer, right? Like, I'm like, it's a time for me to read. So every person here who has had that experience, how can we do it with what we are now with who we are now and with the connections that we can make now without trying to become superhuman. I just really am looking for that guidance. And I do see your hand up, Arlene and Jackie. So, Ann, you can respond now, or you can take that in stride.
Well, I think the most important thing right now is for people to focus on hope. And, and we know that the world is falling down around us. My friend the other day asked me why the flags are at half staff. And I said, I think it's for the country.
Yes.
It just feels that way. But we can't live like that, And I mean, I swear Trump spends his night thinking about how he could make another 50 million people miserable, And we really have to hang on to what's going on in front of us today, and enjoy today and know that the future is going to be rough, and it may well be rough, but it isn't at this moment. And so to not get panicked and to hang together, I think that's so important. Because I mean, that's definitely so, everything is so frightening if you go that route. But at the same time, I live at Strawberry Creek Lodge, and of course we're dependent on HUD, and half of our apartments are HUD funded, and our board is looking at buying back the building. Well, if we lose that HUD funding, we'll have half the budget we have to run this place. And it's scary. It is scary. But you have to put one foot in front of the next and make something good happen today.
Thank you. Jackie and then Arlene. Is Jackie still there? Thank you very much. Well, there you go, Jackie, and then Arlene. You want to unmute? You need to unmute, Jackie.
It looks like she's frozen.
Yeah. Well, Arlene, and then okay, here's Jackie. Okay.
Yeah, I am unmuted. Can you hear me?
Welcome, Jackie.
I don't think you can hear me.
Now we can.
Yes.
But
sometimes if you turn off your camera, you can actually hear better.
You might try that, Jackie.
why don't you go ahead, Arlene, and then we'll come back to you, Jackie. Or if
Kind
you,
of pinned relationship, does that change her access?
no, Norma. If you can, Arlene, do you want to ask your question?
No, I just wanted to say, kind of speak to what you spoke about with the changes that's going on. Something was passed recently this month in the month of March, and those who were, what is it called, windfall elimination provision and government pension offset, which is giving retroactive payments to a bunch of seniors who work for municipal government. So if you work for any government agency and you might see additional money in your account, however, they're closing the offices. And like Ann says, there's a lack of information that's going on. And so I'm a faith woman, and so I always believe in hope. But with that being said, we also need to become more educated, because there's a lot of things that's going on. Offices are closing, and we're being impacted by things that are not mandatory, like you were speaking about the funding for the nursing homes, which is mandatory, but other items are discretionary. So what is it that we need to get educated about so that we can really, like you guys say, don't agonize, organize. And so we need to begin, I love that phrase. I really think that we need to become a little bit more educated, and how can we begin to do education to the communities that might be impacted? How can we spread the word? Because there's a lot of misinformation going out, and there's a lot of people that are panicking simply because they don't know. So what can we do? Thank you.
Your point is well taken to get a few nuggets of truth and let people know about them. I mean, there's lots of ways that we can catastrophize, but to find some real information and follow that and help other people hear it, that's a great idea.
So I'm holding the space for Jackie, but I do want to let everyone know we're going to go to that conversation
Now,
afterwards. So Jackie?
can you hear me now?
Yes, please, take away our last question.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. All right. My mother original board with Lillian and several others and worked very hard on it. I was also working in Sun City at the same time. And it was after a year that they got Marty Lynch on board. And I think that made the big difference with over 60, which expanded wonderfully into the organization. He is retired. He is in Berkeley. I think you definitely should have him come and talk to you about over 60 and what he has done in the area of healthcare. I think it has been marvelous. Did you hear me?
Yes.
Maybe. I hope.
Thank you, Jackie.
Anyhow.
Was there a question to Ann? Because otherwise I'll respond to it in a little bit. Ann, did you want to?
Oh, I think that is a great idea. I would suggest it. And he may be protecting his retirement. I can understand that. But he would be a really good source of information. Or he could suggest somebody, I guess.
So I do want to say that we have active connections to groups that we are part of, in making phone banking to, and I'll talk about that later, what we're doing as individual members, as members of CARA, California Alliance of Retired Americans. And I just, at this point, thank you, Ann. I think would love you to stay on and contribute as you wish. And maybe we can all wave and say goodbye or blow her kisses.
Thank you so much.
With all that reaction potential here. There we go. Yeah.
Thank you for that history, Ann. It was very appreciated and very educational.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Ann. I look forward to meeting you in person. I'm going to be your neighbor someday.
Oh, good. I hope so. Yeah.
I'm on the list. I'm going to get.
Wonderful.
Your house looks so rich. Reminding, well, you know, the materials in your surrounding, you've been so rewarded by all your activism that you can look around and just feel it all the time.
It's so true. Strawberry Creek Lodge. I came here as a youth because it was the model, and we all had to come and see Strawberry Creek Lodge, never knowing that. But when it was time to choose a place to live, this was definitely the top of my list. It's the only place I applied, and it took a couple years, but it was well worth it.
If I can make this last word comment, you know that healthcare for all is a tremendously socialistic projection of where we're going. Once we take hold of all the things we do for us, we could take it out of the hands of the people who make profit off of our doing it.
That's so true. So true.
Thank you. Anne,
Sure.
are you going to stick with us? We'll just.
I have a couple more things to do today.
Okay.
Thank you.
What, some last words, wisdom, or poetry? Your choice, how you'd like to go out.
Oh, well, it was just great. It's been fun to think about all those wonderful memories. You know, it is 50 years ago now that we did all this work. And it's strange to me to be able to say 50 years ago that we were involved in all of this. But lots of good friends and lots of good work. It was great.
It's an inspiration, and Arlene Hipp would love to talk to you about the ombuds. Other people would like to follow up with you at another time.
I
yeah.
put the wrong name. I'm sorry. I just wanted to put. I was looking at Norma and I was thinking about Norma, but I just wanted to talk to Ann about the ombudsman program that's in place, because I think that mine can not only be used for the things that are mandatory, but discretionary programs.
Yeah.
And how we could expand that to various communities.
Yes, well, I called an ombudsman just a couple weeks ago on behalf of a friend, and it was interesting because the social worker said, "Don't call the ombudsman," and I was so amazed that it's still effective enough to be a hammer in the nursing homes, that they wanted to take care of the problem before we got to an ombudsman. So
I will say there's a gray paper that the National Council of Gray Panthers Housing and Nursing Home Committee, as it turns out, there's a paper that we collected information, and that Jan Bandor of Michigan, Ann Arbor, Gray Panthers published, and it should be on our website somewhere, but I'll post it. But we had an insider from the ombudsman, the national ombudsman, that our board member, Helen Walsh, introduced the National Council to. So they were she was actually out of Texas, or maybe anonymously, I should say, telling us what the real view, what's really going on, just how they're so often discredited and undermined. But it's wonderful to hear that you were there at the beginning. So every nursing home has an ombudsman whose job it is to hear not just the complaints, but the warnings that family or staff have to offer. And it's still an ongoing issue as to whether, that our allies at Canner in particular work on. So,
yep.
California Alliance of Retired Americans. Canner, oh, sorry. You all say it.
Kara.
Alliance for Retired Americans.
No, it's California Advocates for Nursing Home Reform. My bad.
Yes.
And they
started the same.
Yeah.
Right next door.
They were getting started at the same time we were. Yeah.
So they're now located, they were in San Francisco for many years, moving out of Berkeley to San Francisco. They're like 4 blocks away.
Wow.
From where we are in the West Berkeley Library. So they have offices in another law firm's building on Hearst and 6th. All right. So I'm gonna
say something about what Arlene commented back to me.
Well,
I'm already working on a project that encompasses things like whatever healthcare for all. And I'll talk to you later about it, Arlene. But I work with Peace and Freedom Party. Peace and Freedom Party is a party for socialism that's been on the ballot since the Vietnam War. The the brutes organized so beautifully for us. They put on the Vietnam War and swelled our ranks. And we had the Peace and Freedom Party in 23 states of the country. We've dropped to only in California now. Now Trump is organizing for us and increasing our roles tremendously. So, anyway,
I met it.
I do that kind of work, you know. Peace and Freedom Party, of course, works for healthcare for all, works to control our lives.
Thank you, Norma.
I made an error, Norma. I didn't mean you. I meant Ann. I'm sorry.
And I'm letting you know, Arlene, Hannah is the person who's Hannah Carpolo is the person who raised it.
I know. I've
and-
been watching there.
and Carol are on the county.
Alameda County Public Authority for IHSS.
What is IHSS?
Committee.
In-home supportive services. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. You know, Lynn, we need to say goodbye to Ann. Is this for Ann?
It is. It is for Ann.
Last bit. Go ahead and you'll wrap us up.
There's a side effect of the abundance program. I don't know if we're considering, but as we all age and lose family members, some of us are alone. And I heard you say that the social worker wanted you to come there first, but it's
you're cracked up.
Oh.
Yeah, we didn't hear what you had to say.
I'm hearing her.
I heard her perfectly fine.
Oh, great.
Go
ahead
then. The program has become more important than ever because no one should be in an institution without an advocate. And
yes,
I think the ombudsman should be hooked up when they go in and continue to follow the client, not just for complaints. So this is a whole new world, and even 50 years later, you're having an effect on all that.
It's true. That's so true.
We have a member in a nursing home east of LA. She's very active.
Yeah.
At the state and national level, especially.
Yeah.
So who knew we would be taking some steps backwards and just defending the Medicaid? We were working for abolishing nursing homes or creating a better system of at-home support, but here we are.
Here we are.
With you know, the essentials being threatened.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye, Ann.
Bye. So
Thank you.
Bye, Ann.
And I look
Thank you
forward
so
to
much.
meeting
we done yet? There are more
Neighbors.
waves? Okay.
Thanks.
Lynn, I love what you just said, Lynn. Especially with the growing number of seniors, especially here in California, the growth of those who are unhoused here in the state of California are over 50. It's just so many areas that are hitting seniors. Food insecurity, being threatened, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so I really appreciate you bringing that up about having an advocate or a navigator to help you not only in the nursing home, but when you look at us collectively, what are the issues that are really impacting us, and that a lot of people simply don't know how to move through the system. And we need people who can help them move through the system, which we don't have. And so anyway, just some thoughts.
I've always had a dream that a nurse is assigned to a client for their whole life to help follow them through all their stages. And if the nurse goes down, then there's another nurse assigned. No one should have to navigate our health system alone.
Wow.
Right.
I don't have one.
That just speaking, we couldn't see. There was
Excuse me, Norma, Dirk, did you want to introduce yourself? We just finished the speaker with Ann Squires, and now we're in an interim spot before we get into our meeting announcements. But you want to introduce yourself? Okay, he's muted. You're muted. I'll accept that. I would like to there were a few other newcomers, I think, today.
Carol.
And Dirk, you just came as well, but was there anyone who's new who didn't have a chance to introduce themselves. Pilar, you're not new, but did you just drop in? Do you want to say if
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Pilar Zuniga. I have been actually working a little bit with Betsy and Maria, I guess, in view of you all with some work here in Berkeley. I work with the Ecology Center. So we are doing some work with the city planning department around the development of two major elements. So yeah, I just wanted to check in. I'm always keeping tabs on what you all are speaking about, and
I cannot hear you. Can people online hear Pilar?
Yeah. Yes, I hear her perfectly.
I hear it perfectly
Yes, I
fine.
hear
Okay,
too.
so
don't worry, I said good things about you, Betsy.
oh, Rains, come over here. I cannot hear you.
Anyway, it's great to be here just to see what you all are up to, and Betsy and I are well connected, and hopefully she'll share more about the work that we've been doing and will continue to do to hopefully improve specifically City of Berkeley, but all of this work takes time, and maybe it'll have effect throughout the East Bay. So, all right, thanks.
Did you say what you're connected to? I missed it.
Oh yeah, so I work for the Ecology Center, and we're actually working with the City of Berkeley's planning department to they're updating their their kind of general plan, which affects the next 20 years of city planning in Berkeley. So we're looking at disaster preparedness as well as safety, as well as something we call environmental justice, which deals with the environment, climate change, all the things that we are learning more about and how it affects our lives and our health. So yeah, so we are taking what Betsy's knowledge is and other folks at the Gray Panthers who have what they kind of know, and hopefully including that in what we're presenting to the city, so that as they're making planning changes and changes in policy, it will better support all of those in the community. Long story. It's a long story. But feel free. Betsy has my contact information. If you have anything, you have questions about it, please reach out to her. Thank you all. Appreciate the work in all of your consciousness around all of these issues.
Betsy's all disconnected. You're gone, Betsy.
Now we can hear Betsy and me.
A little at a distance. So Pilar, I want to thank you for coming. And I actually think that the work we're doing with you and this small group around emergency preparedness for seniors, well, for the whole city, but there's some really interesting, there's two issues, one going on in West Berkeley right now, where there's a group of neighbors fighting the public toilet, the idea of a public amenity as something that civilized countries have, public toilets. And in one of the big bus stop areas at San Pablo and University, I say this as a West Berkeley neighbor, I'm calling on anyone to let the city council and the city manager and the city engineer, I'll try to provide that, that we want this one toilet that 5 years ago was funded, and it was created and chosen by a whole hundreds of people in West Berkeley picking a spot. And now there are, I won't say they're newcomers, but a group called Beautiful San Pablo that is literally lying about who would use it about how it will cause crime. Police say, no, this will not cause crime. There's so many just demonizing and evil comments. It isn't just a civilized debate about where the toilet should go or what it should be like, even though all of those are important. So we have voted, we more or less came together and said, support this toilet at one of our socials. So I'm going to ask you all, Carol Morosevich has been keeping me abreast of just how demoralizing this group of neighbors who are very well organized to say no. So I'm just bringing it up, Pilar, because I'd like to be in touch with some of the other members of the community action team. But I also know it's more than I can personally manage. And I just want to encourage that we can talk big picture ideas, which I adore, healthcare for all, but if we are so divided here in Berkeley that a public toilet for seniors, for people in wheelchairs, because the businesses don't provide toilets anymore. And when they do, if they do have one, it's wheelchair accessible. But if they're saying, no, we don't have one, then it's usually a closet in the back of the kitchen. And we have to think about the small things as well as the big things. That's my take on it. So I know Julia has raised her hand, so I'm not sure. Hannah raised her hand. I'm going to call on, I'm just going to say, I know I'm editorializing, but this is the time when we open up. If anyone needs a break, take a break. We have some refreshments here in the library. And I see we've lost Ethel Coates, but I hope she'll come back. Ethelene, yeah. So maybe Carol, can you see people's hands?
Yes.
Okay. I also
Sorry, are you calling on somebody or no?
no, because I have so many things on my mind that I want to communicate with you all. Why don't we go ahead? I'll stop and chime in later.
Did you want to know about the Cara meeting with Buffy?
You're not going to
We
acknowledge me.
Yeah.
We have, for example, we have a report from our Cara people, our representatives.
Yeah,
Hallie's going to report in a minute. Julia, you have your hand up, so I'm going to go ahead. And anyone who hasn't spoken, if you have an announcement briefly that you want to share with us, please do. And I have some announcements as well, but I'll come in later. So Julia, your hand.
Well, I'm not sure I still remember what I want to say by now, but it was in response to the toilet thing. It's just one of the many ways that we punish people who are homeless. We've gotten rid of all the benches that now, as an old person, I would love to pass by, sit down on when I'm walking once in a while. We've gotten rid of all those in case a homeless person sleeps on them. Now we don't want to have public toilets in case a homeless person uses it in some way we don't approve of. And we've got to stop this. This is wrong. And it's always wrong to punish everybody for what a few people do. And that seems to be the way we handle things these days. And we need to figure out a better way. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Julia. Sounds like you'd be a good person to work with on drafting a letter. But it's not just one letter from the organization. I think the public needs to hear from multiple Gray Panthers. So I want to encourage that. Yeah, so I'm going to call on and welcome Douglas and Kathy. Welcome back.
Yes. Good to see you again.
And Miss Cunningham, Miss Cecilia is on the phone. How fabulous. But because Hallie may need to leave, she has asked if she could make her report back. Now, this is about a meeting where with Buffy Wicks.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
And
is there a mic or just?
It's picking up from here.
Okay,
I think
good.
you're okay.
So a group of us went, well, we had some practice meeting, and then we met with, not with Buffy Wicks, but with this woman, Sophia, who is her liaison for aging and long-term care. And she was a young woman who was very interested in what we were talking about, but she turned out, like when we asked her how Wix would vote on things or co-sponsor or co-author, she said she couldn't really comment because it had to come from her. So basically we had a facilitator, some people telling stories about the 3 bills we wanted covered. And then I was taking minutes. There were 14 people there all together at the meeting. The 3 bills we talked about was AJR 3, which was hands off Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
This is state.
This is state. It's assembly bill, but it wouldn't cost anything. It would just be a statement to stay off it, and she couldn't even say that Wix would do that. But this, and we had some people telling stories about their experience with that. The second bill was Medigap policies, and someone was talking about how they were just under the amount that they could qualify for Medigap, for the Medicare without having a lot of expense. They had some people in their family who could help, but a lot of people don't have that option. And that would also not be a very expensive thing, but it would be a matter of, supporting people and having an enrollment period once a year so people could figure out which healthcare plan they wanted to be in.
Is she the sponsor?
What? The sponsor of the bill was Blake Spear. That was SB 242. The third bill we asked her about was SB 435, and SB means they're Senate bills, so it wouldn't be coming to the Assembly till later, but eventually it would end up there. And the third bill was about getting backup power sources in residential care facilities, because if somebody is stuck on a 6th floor and there's a fire and the electricity goes out, they're toast, literally toast. So that was the only expense for that would be to inspect the places and make sure that they were following compliance. So we talked about all 3. The woman, Sophia, seemed very sympathetic, but she said she couldn't answer. We asked if Buffy Wicks could co-author anything, and she said because she's the head of the Appropriations Committee, she would not be able to co-author, although she would be able to vote. We told her we would be checking back in with her in about 2 weeks to find out how the assembly person would be voting on this. Personally, I don't have a lot of faith in Buffy Wicks. Personally, I have seen her basically Scotch single payer. She would not even allow single payer to come up in the Appropriations Committee for discussion, never mind a vote. So I really don't trust her one bit, but we did have the meeting with Sonia. She was very, cordial and seemingly interested in what we were saying, but I will personally hold my breath if Buffy Wicks does anything right. That's my report.
Any questions?
First to comment, just to remind everyone that Buffy, whatever her name is.
Buffy.
This is Dave Blake is speaking. If you can go to a
Buffy
place.
the Progressive Slayer. She was elected in the most expensive race in California history.
Race and racist.
I think the most expensive race at the time in national history. For a state representative position.
Against Javanka Beckles, was that it?
She ran against her, and she had a lot of racist propaganda going out against Javanka.
And sorry, I lost my train of thought. I'll get it back in a second.
Well, anyway, that's
hold on.
Yeah.
I have 2 things to say. Yeah. I'll finish the first one. That she is for the longest time, all 3 of our positions, state senator, state representative and Congress, and yes, and Congress actually, though Barbara Lee didn't take a position, refused to come out in favor of rent control on the state ballot when that was up. So we were represented at the time. We'll see how Jesse does. All our representatives refused to endorse the take back of the 1995 law that hampered dramatically the introduction of local rent control. So that's who they are. Just remember who they are. It's nice that she carries her baby and suckles it at the house. But aside from that, she is so unrepresentative of this district that it's disgusting.
She also,
but the real question I had was, the third thing you mentioned said that we are going to protect people who are disabled and live on upper floors of apartment buildings by making sure.
Residential nursing homes.
It was only residential nursing homes?
Nursing homes.
Oh.
It wasn't apartment buildings.
I'm confused. I thought we were supporting something else.
Here.
There might be two bills.
Well, let me see. Residential care facilities backup power sources.
It's backup power sources for the
For
elevator.
skilled nursing facilities.
Oh, not for.
So when the elevators go out in a fire at a nursing home, they're supposed to stay on. In a residential district, they're supposed to be purposely turned off so that you don't get caught in the elevator suddenly when the fire takes the electricity out. So I don't understand this difference. But I do know that the important thing is that there is no protection in residential. The bigger picture, there is no protection under current code for people who can't go walk downstairs.
That's right.
In a fire, period. So compliance isn't going to satisfy that, though it might satisfy it for nursing homes.
And there are people working on tools. There's actually some simple things you can do, a cable thing.
No one is working on it but us.
Well,
no one is thinking
the topic
about
is
it.
coming up.
Yes.
Out of these conversations.
Well, again, I would just, because I said it last time, I'll say it again this time. 10 years ago, when I was on the rent board, I asked the council to explore these block devices for paraplegics, not quadriplegics.
You know, this, I
that
just want to
allows you
say,
to walk downstairs with your arms.
this is not the time, but let us.
I just mention it every time.
No, every time, but let's actually focus it on what I want you to wrap up.
Yeah.
Because there's some more training. What are the other things that Kara can do? And then let's follow up with who are we going to visit or who are we going to try to reach with a few straightforward messages.
I do want to just say
like
one
that.
other thing about Buffy Wicks. When we won the court battle to have them not build on People's Park, she put through the legislature AB 1305, which bypassed the judicial ruling and allowed them to build on People's Park.
There's no shot there. That was, it's always been the job of our state representative to serve UC.
Shipping containers around People's Park. I see there's a crane there, so they're building something there.
Oh, yeah.
In the preservation of history, I will also mention that Lonnie Hancock introduced the measure that allowed the building of the stadium as a middle of the night, last minute addition to an omnibus bill, which cannot be challenged because the whole notion of an omnibus bill is that it contains nothing that anyone could find controversial. Any single member of the legislature can prevent an omnibus bill coming through by simply finding out about it. But Lonnie Hancock introduced it at midnight the day before it passed, and no one said anything.
If you cannot understand what people are saying, be sure you connect to captions. Captions is in the 3 dots on the bottom of your screen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's very helpful.
The other thing I failed to mention when I lost my thought, I'll be almost done. Last thing.
It's the wrong time.
No, I didn't finish my thing about Bucky. Just Bucky, I wanted to say.
Oh.
There was a race to see whether her dark money or her legitimate money was going to prevail. In the overall spending, it was $4.5 million for that seat when she won. $2.5 million was dark money.
And I will just say that, as I keep saying, the California Association of Realtors, for example, paid over half of the money that the top 10 donors to Jesse Aragine, and they're on my they're on my enemies list, and I don't have an enemies list.
We'll see how Jesse does. Jesse plays close to his vest.
So I'm just gonna flag that I would like us afterwards to talk about, what we can do, what the focus is. Maybe we have to focus, but Kara's visiting legislators. Do you want to say what any follow-up we might do with Kara?
Okay, well,
we organize our own business?
Kara is going to get in touch with Buffy Wick's office through Daisy, who's
Our staff person.
the staff person now. I can let you know what happens after that point, but I really think that since this is going through Kara, that it should just let them finish the process that they're doing, and then I'll get back to you.
So, is there a Friday forum?
Yeah, there is a Friday forum this week.
How do people get on?
If you go to CARA, California Alliance for Retired Americans, there's a website, and you should be able to register for what they call the Friday forums. And there should be a registration form right on the site.
This coming Friday?
It's every several Fridays they have it, at least once a month.
And with specific topics.
Yeah, with specific topics.
Robert, do you remember what the topic is this Friday?
Friday, yeah, I don't know what it is, but
I can look it up.
Okay.
Yeah, I can go in my email.
Yeah, I have to turn my phone back on.
Be able to
So,
write up the content.
yeah. Alan, if you've got to go, do you want to say any last words? Any follow-up thoughts that?
Are you dying or something? What's this last
No,
word?
it's gotta leave.
Oh,
yeah.
Just giving him the courtesy.
No, I just, I agree with the sentiment that was expressed earlier that it's hard to keep a feeling of optimism right now. But we need to be listening to everybody. And some of the issues that were raised here, I actually am hearing both sides, like the bathroom issue. I know one of the people who's opposed to it.
Yeah.
And I understand their arguments. So I think we just need to be understanding of, and Buffy Wicks, where is she coming from? It's not productive to just say she's an enemy.
Oh, yeah.
It's a productive to understand where she's coming from.
Well, that's why I mentioned what she had voted against and stuff.
Yeah.
I think
And
that's
same
the
with Jesse, Ardeen.
The Real Truth Lobby was the enemy. It's listed.
I'm sorry to use that term. They paid
The devil, just say the devil, that's good.
No, they are the opponent to any justice for
here it is.
renters.
Well, and
They-
with People's
they fund-
Park, there's
Well, that's a whole.
I am totally,
Another.
I agree, I'm in the middle too.
I am totally, like I bicycle by there every day. I have done that, as part of my bike route. And it was squatters park to me for many, many, many years. And that was not a desirable thing. So that's, that tempers my view.
Okay, we definitely have some
Yeah.
passionate, long-standing views here, but we can always learn.
So the Cara.
Thank you.
Hi, Alan.
The Cara
Thanks for coming.
Fabulous Friday Forum this week is on how bills become laws.
Oh,
Well, that's practical and useful.
okay. Well,
I have some websites to share with the group
about Kara or about what?
about what we can do.
Okay.
Carol Morosov's been waiting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna call on her. Carol, you can unmute. I'm sorry, I didn't ask Alan for the name of his person or what that person is saying.
Yeah.
Carol's been the one.
Here, thank you. I can unmute now. So actually, I wanted to talk on the to the local issues. I mean, there's so much else to talk about in terms of the elevators and persons with disabilities on the on the low floors. So I do want to speak to the bathroom because we're talking about internally, but it's really important for people to write letters because the opponents have been very successful at bombarding the council and the city manager's office with letters, with emails opposing the bathroom. And it is based on hyperbole. I've heard all the opposing arguments, and I recall how this first came about. It was all the way in 2017. And it came from the Homeless Commission. Council wanted to put these bathrooms out there for hygienic purposes. At the time, there was it was concerns about bathrooms for unhoused people, but it also, this is the best, one of the best consultants work, one of the least wasteful consultants I've seen the city ever come up with. They did really thorough community input. They went to the rideshare drivers. They went to community organizations. They had they went to the bus drivers. They got everybody's input as to the locations that they wanted. I was in 3 of the community groups. I was in the West Berkeley group, and that was maybe around 21 or 20, something like that. So between 20 and 22. And these were mostly homeowners from West Berkeley, and they chose the locations of James Kenney Park and University in San Pablo. And now there are people coming up. They never participated in this. One of the people from that community group contacted me and said, do they know how much outreach there was? Because he had been there. And he recalled the emails that he had received. So at the time there was outreach, but the outreach was over, where do you want restrooms? It didn't say we're going to put a restroom expressly at University in San Pablo. It was asking the community to identify the locations. And these were locations that came up with. And now there's been such hundreds of emails have gone to the city manager's office saying, you can't do this. So much of it is irrational. I was at the Transportation Infrastructure Commission meeting where one of the business owners said, look at Bombay Jewelry. They had this $500,000 robbery from masked men, and they attribute that to the homeless. That has nothing to do with the homeless any more than Apple being robbed has anything to do with the homeless. So I'm really concerned that if this is given in on, it just continues to exacerbate the fear of homeless people and people with mental health issues. I'm so concerned that I sometimes wonder if some merchant might see a homeless person or a person with schizophrenia come into their store and get scared and shoot them, because they're exacerbating, the opponents are exacerbating the fears of anyone who is homeless or has a mental health issue. And so this is, we need to stay with this.
You're breaking up.
Sorry. We need to stay with this. There really needs to be.
Thank you, Carol. I think let's talk about what just let's wrap up and
okay. The other thing, moving on to a different issue, I just want to say,
someone speak to what they're willing to do with Carol
Should we get Carol to share first?
What's going on?
Connect audio next to the microphone with the up arrow.
Getting some interference,
We're working on it.
We're working on it.
So in the RRV process, speaking.
Next time, you got audio fully disconnected.
Oh my God. Speaking to can anyone hear me?
I was going to come over.
We'll get there.
Have an announcement.
Can anyone hear me? Okay, no one can hear me. Okay.
Thank you, Carol.
Okay, nobody can hear me. Okay. Okay.
Carol Cooks or Carol Philosophy?
Range.
I was saying thank you to Carol Morasovic and welcome to Carol Crooks, who has
I have
announcements ready to go.
several websites that people may be interested in. One of them is generalstrikeus.com, and it's building up to a general strike. You can go there and see it. If you want to sign up for a strike card, they're going to get 11 million strike cards, and when they get 11 million, they will declare a general strike nationwide. generalstrikeus.com. Then there's the People's Union USA.org, And they're the people that bring you the blackouts, the economic blackouts where you spend no money in one day. Or the boycotts where there was an Amazon boycott last week or the week before. The week before. And this week there's a boycott on Nestle. And those are brought to you by the People's Union, USA.org. And I'm getting a t-shirt. It's only $18.
Don't get it from Amazon.
Then there's workerreform.us, and they're calling a May Day strike, which is the 1st of May. That's all I got.
Oh. Everybody know about the 5th of April?
Yep, well, no.
Oh, that's right.
Well,
Yes.
go ahead, why don't you announce the 5th of April?
Mobilize and
Hands
indivisible
off.
together, or have settled on April 5th as a day of mass protest. I gather it's a Sunday. I'm just guessing. I don't know what is April.
Saturday.
Saturday. Oops.
1 p.m.
Noon at City Hall, I was told, but I guess it really means 1 p.m. In San Francisco City Hall. Sorry.
I did want to add, so this hands off rally, yeah, there's one in Berkeley at North Berkeley BART on a Saturday afternoon, 1 p.m. There's another one in Oakland, and someone told me they'd already signed up. Was that Arlene? Is that Franco Gawa Plaza or Oscar Grant?
Franco Gawa
Franco Gawa, sure. Yeah.
Is that Oscar Grant Plaza?
No,
It's the same place.
It
Oscar.
is, okay.
Is it the same?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
That's weird.
So so April 5th at 1 p.m. Rains and I are not in town, but if someone wants to go and would like to use the Berkeley Gray Panther banner, that's in the care of Robert.
Are all these announcements going up on the chat? And the sound has become more and more difficult, so I hope people are able to get what you're talking about.
Rains, are you putting it up on the chat, or should we do that individually, or what?
Only some of these things have keyboards, so I'm not rushing on to do it.
We'll try to do that, Norma, but
The recording's always available to go back to.
yeah,
and
but she can't hear it.
The transcript, I think, captures it, so
Okay, so Rains, you'll get the transcript out to everybody?
maybe.
Maybe.
Well, who has a keyboard that's typable? Isn't that one typable right there?
Right here, you can come here and type if you like.
Thank you, David, that's great.
I just know Mobilize and Invisible.
Do not depend on the transcript to record the chat. I think you have to do it yourself.
We think the transcript is reliable because the problem is with the library's Wi-Fi. Therefore, from our end, before it gets to the library to broadcast the Wi-Fi, it's good, and the transcript should be good. Am I not right?
We hope so.
But
That's what we hope.
David is gonna try to add this information.
Some of the URLs.
Some of this information into the chat.
All I know is Mobilize is April 5th, Mobilize.
Carol,
Are there-
you're up for typing.
It's supposed to be a big rally.
We're gonna type one or two of the lists for people.
Yeah, I believe
It's across the
The things
country.
you mentioned.
There's something in every large town and most small town.
I
So-
put on my email.
So I do want to share that, and I see Carol, I do want to share that I went to an invitation of Dar, who's from Harriet Tubman. He's president of their tenants organization. He has started another group, just I think to be a little more engaging. I'm not sure, but it's called humanrights.org. It's a group that supports the UN principles. And there were 15 people when I attended at
Right.
Harriet Tubman.
Oh, shit.
What the? And I shared with them the idea of my dream that people in the senior affordable housing buildings around Berkeley
Tap anywhere.
would put posters or banners up in their windows to say whatever it needs to say. Cut still, hands off HUD, because
Are you
the
gonna type
government
in-
is
are you
about
typing
to
in chat,
gut
Carol?
HUD.
Yes.
Good.
Cut half the staff.
There's 3 people talking at one time, Betsy and other people.
I don't hear anyone else.
Here, go ahead.
Well, I do.
We're
Okay.
just trying to make sure that the chat gets filled out, Norma. Betsy, keep going.
I'll just say that if any of you have neighbors who live in senior affordable housing, let's cultivate them and, you know, hands off Medicaid, hands off HUD housing, hands off Social Security. And they understand, they got the idea that they often live in large public streets. So a large format banner or a poster really, it's an idea. Claim and stake our place in the city of Berkeley, the city of Oakland, because otherwise we're kind of invisible. The people who need, you know, Medicaid. There's younger folks who don't even know what Medicare is. You know, they'd like to learn, but they don't know. So the idea of publicizing who gets Medicaid, who gets Medicare, who gets Social Security, just let's understand that we've got that, we got to carry that to the world a little more than has been made, you know, public. I tried, have any of you gotten on to do phone calls? So thanks to our suggestion, Kara and our long-term supports and services coalition, I'm moving on to phone calls. Phone banking is a strategy to call voters in districts in California that are Republican. So by calling those districts and reaching, the strategy is actually independent voters, people who don't declare themselves Democrat or Republican. The strategy is being carried out by a labor federation, by CARA, by the Long-Term Supports and Services Coalition, and a bunch of other groups using a program or a phone banking service called Call Evo. And you have to go through training. CARA has had training. LTSS for All is having training right now. The labor people are having a training at 4 p.m. And there's some process to it. I'm going to admit, I went through 3 trainings and I have a laptop, and so far I have not succeeded in making, having a phone conversation. And it's something to do with using, so just know, however, other people have successfully made those calls. And so I will also make sure you get those, if anyone would like to call, you know, you pick a time on a calendar, you pick a time and a date. It's usually like an hour and a half or maybe 2 hours max. And if you're interested, raise your hand and I'll write it down and send you the info. I'll try to get it to everyone, but I haven't succeeded yet.
I put it in the chat. There's a link from the LTSS for All.
Thank you.
There's a link. I put it in there.
Okay.
For other days, because obviously today it's a little late to join.
Yeah. And I'm trying to get advance notice so that people aren't sending me an email saying phone banking today at 2. No, let me know a week in advance all the things so that I can send it out to you. But if you're, just know that the strategy, that strategy of calling people in vulnerable Republican districts, because the only people that will empower those Republicans are their own constituents. They're not holding town halls. I don't know if you all saw the videos. Yeah. They're afraid. The Republican Party said, hey, your town halls were so bad. What is it, last week or the week before? Don't have town halls because people are yelling about Medicaid cuts. So this is how we can reach those Republican Congress people, is by here in California alone. If we turn 3 Republican voters to vote against cuts to Medicaid, it's a start. So anyway, other people, Hannah, you have your hand up.
Yes, I did want to also make sure you all know about this action tomorrow in San Francisco from 4 to 6.
Oh yeah, thanks.
It's at the Airbnb headquarters on Brannan Street. I think it's 855 Brannan. And it sounds like a really big event. I hope there's a really good turnout. It's against Doge, so it's
Big.
the owner, whatever, is part of this backpack in Doge, and so he's being selected to being targeted on this day tomorrow.
So as I understand it, it's accessible, it's near, do you want to say a little more about where people can?
Oh, if you know, you should say. I just know because I got an email from.
Okay, but in the chat is where that information is right now. And I am, okay, yeah. Carol, did you have any information about that?
About what?
About does anyone interested in going tomorrow to the 4 p.m. gathering in San Francisco? Because I'd be up for going, and we can travel by BART or drive.
I'll be away with the car.
Maybe not. We can still meet at BART. Okay, I'm not actually able to see any hands. If you change that, Rains, so that it's a gallery view, I might have a better chance of.
You can always switch to gallery view.
Okay. Well, just know that, give me a call. If anyone doesn't have my phone number, it is 510 842 7286 842 6224, or text me on my cell phone. Yeah, so more this is kind of,
we should probably start wrapping up.
We should start wrapping up. Anyone here at the library, there's snacks that people have brought, so come on down. Did you want to say something, Arlene, about what you were referring to, or Julia?
Actually, we're working on a project. I think I just got a response from Oakland Tenants Union. We're trying to get a group of speakers in to cover like critical issues. A very short period of time. It's possibly going to be at Laney at the Bistro Cafe, but it's also going to be a hybrid, so it's going to be online as well. And so one of the things is basically a teach-in. And so people can get educated about various issues that we're really being impacted on. They might have some youth speakers. I know definitely housing speakers. And so, like I said, it's only for a very brief window. We came up with it like a couple of weeks back. And so you need a long time to plan it. So that's why it's so brief. But it's probably going to be the last week of April or the first week of May. And I am really, it's really interesting because Ethel is the lead. And so she's kind of bringing me along and kind of cultivating me to kind of begin to do these educational things, because a lot of times we speak to people and they simply don't know. And so I really appreciate the teach-ins.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that. And I wanted to say I am having a legislative visit with Mia Bonta on Friday on 4 issues from ACE. And I was just on the phone with the policy analyst from ACE State about the 3 issues, because I'm going to kind of be the moderator with the other people who are going to be speaking to the issues and telling their stories. And so I'll report back if you'd like, after it's completed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that sounds great. And when is that? When is your meeting?
It's Friday.
This Friday.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Arlene.
Thank you. I actually wanted to invite Hannah because, Medicaid, these the things that are discretionary under the Medicaid is being impacted, and you at the Justice and Aging that I was on the panel for at Preservation Park, when was that, last month, I think it was, and Justice and Aging really gave a tremendous breakdown of what's discretionary and what's mandatory funding. And we really need to think about what's going on right now and how we can really reach out to people, because a lot of people simply do not know that are being impacted. And that also makes you panic. And so I'll reach out to you, Hannah. I'll send you something, okay?
Thank you, Arlene. I'll look for it.
Okay, bye-bye.
I'll just mention justiceinaging.org, or just Google Justice in Aging. They're not as up to date as I'd hoped they would be. Social Security shenanigans, the cuts or the changes in dates, but they do have a great slideshow about Medicaid, like Arlene mentioned. So Justice in Aging, take a look at that site. They are an ally to several of our other allies.
I just received an email about Medicaid that they're doing a webinar. So
yeah, I think they're doing them regularly. They had one
right now.
But the slideshow of the basics is on their website. So
I take what I need and I get rid of the rest. I don't stay focused on that because it's other places that I get information from. But that particular was really very educational.
And Carol has her hand up. So I think we're just wrapping up announcements. And then to close this out, I'm going to ask Norma to speak. But Carol?
Okay, thanks. Well, I already put in chat, as far as your environmental justice group, in the RRV process, council just removed 2 environmental items from their workload, from the city's workload. I'm not making judgment on them, but you should look at those 2 items that were removed, because those were both items dealing with environmental justice in West Berkeley. I know one was addressing remediation. So they took that from the council consideration of, and it's pretty easy to see all around us that Berkeley is not complying with SB 1333 very well in terms of the recycling and the waste, etc. But we can't be too economically ambitious. The city has a $15 million deficit right now. I heard otherwise in another setting, $15 to $20 million structural deficit, and is just waiting for the 27 million coming in from the federal government to be potentially taken away, which is not that long away. Right before this, I was on an immigration a law seminar from the ABA, and I asked how soon when should we expect the sanctuary cities to be losing the money, have our federal funding cut, and what, in terms of litigation. Yes, it's in litigation, but it's right before Congress now. So it's only a matter of time before we potentially have these funds cut. Things are changing. I know I spoke to Betsy a little bit this morning, and she was under the impression that everything is on hold. Everything isn't on hold.
No, I don't think everything is on hold.
Well, I thought you were saying something about Trump's mouth being larger than all the things that are actually transpiring, but things are being transpiring. We certainly can see it in immigration, and it's going far beyond that. They were actually discussing, there's an executive order that tells attorneys they can't sue the federal government to challenge them on their regulations. And they threatened some law firm and who's actually negotiating with the Trump administration now to back off on suing and challenging some federal regulations. So, but I just want to end with the Social Security, which is very pragmatic. I think most people already know this, but starting this coming month that we're going into, Social Security is changing the dates that people will get their checks based on their birth dates. Now, if you're on SSI, it'll be the first of the month. They were getting it the last day of the month, but that's fine. But then on the 3rd, the only individuals getting it on the 3rd will be people who've been on Social Security since 1997. And but there is some loophole I found on one site. Otherwise, it's going to be based on your day that your birthday falls on the month. It's either the 9th, the 16th, or the 23rd. I know my birthday's November 15th. So my check is now slated to come instead of the 3rd, now on the 16th of the month. Now, so somehow I don't think people know this is happening, that they won't get their Social Security retirement checks timely. Now, I did find on one site where if your Medicare is paid by the state, meaning you're on Medicaid, then you'll get your check on the 3rd as usual. So I found that one place and nobody else seems to state that. So people need to look and see what day their check is actually going to come, because this is changing now. They have a right to change it. It's administrative. I mean, it's the executive branch. Thank you. Okay.
I really,
And Dirk has a hand up.
Yeah. Dirk, and then I'll put something in chat about Social Security works.
Go ahead, Dirk.
Dirk, associated with the Land Club and the United Nations Association. I just found a website, budgetacademy.org. Tells all about the California budget. It's like a 4-unit course in college, but it really does explain everything, and I recommend it to your acquaintance. Budget.
What is the website again, Dirk?
Budget, BUDGET, Academy, ACA.
What comes after budget?
Budget Academy?
Yes.
Got it.
Is that for California or national?
Yes. Yeah, you can Google Budget Academy, and I think it shows up for only California, but to make the search easier, California Budget Academy.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll just remind people that all this is possible thanks to your support. It's great to be in person. Obviously, we still have some technical glitches to work out, but it looks like it is doable, and we'll welcome feedback on your experience, both on Zoom and in person. And we're continuing with our socials. They might be shifting location in April. It's not confirmed. The second Wednesday of the month in April.
Yeah.
And so stay tuned. We send out invites to that pretty much to our paid members. So there's some incentive.
Thank you, everyone who's renewed. We're all up to date. Carol wants to speak.
Yes. Dues are $35 a year per person, or $15 a year for low income, or $5 a month for
a year.
Hardship.
A year.
A year. Those are yearly figures.
But if you want to give us to it every month, it's okay.
You're totally welcome.
And just stay tuned because the May is Affordable Housing Month in the East Bay, and we're planning some activities, including when the social will be at Strawberry Creek Lodge that month, and be a little more instructional, not just pure conversation, but have some actual talks part of it. And Strawberry Creek Lodge will be feeding us.
No.
No.
They will do as little as they can, but
anyway, there'll be some opportunity. We'll have more info on that, but stay tuned. That's the second Wednesday of May, and there'll be a number of other activities that month. And our speaker meeting focus is going to be on social housing. And in May, to avoid Memorial Day week, we're moving it up to the third Wednesday. So it'll be, I think that means just the 21st, not the 28th. Just mark your calendars now. Prepare ahead. You can start to plan those vacations.
Yes. Better yet, go to eastbaygraypanthers.org. You can search for the calendar.
In the event section.
We're trying to add more to the calendar.
It's also, and we haven't explicitly said, but I should call attention that if you click on the events menu, you can pick out most of the meetings for the past year, and you'll find recordings at the very least, if not transcripts or other things. We've been staying busy and knowing that people can't make every meeting. So we've been trying to make more of that accessible.
That we as Rain's catching up. on the backlog, thankfully.
Well, it's all, and we're looking forward, the board has met and is figuring out ways that more of us can get tied into the system. So A, it doesn't all fall on me, and B, so that we can more quickly reach people. And it was fascinating this week calling people we had no email address for, falling off the list and reaching a bunch of people in interesting ways. So we'll hopefully be able to do a postcard mailing soon and reach people who we don't even have their phone number for. And last thing was just an ad targeted at us. Your Facebook ads are always saying hot singles in your area. So here's the ad. Hot singles over 40 in your area are curious what you use for joint pain and inflammation. They want to know. Call now.
Rains, are you stepping out on me?
I'll always be your pain in the butt.
Yes, my favorite one.
That's hysterical.
Well, there's so much more to share, but I think that's way more than even I can process. I just wanted, Doug and Kathy, you want to hear your voice, just because we haven't heard it, and anyone else who hasn't had a chance to have us hear your voice.
Well, sure, you can hear. I'm our voice, and you can hear me.
Hi, Doug.
You're at our library, which is kind of cool.
Oh, you're in West Berkeley.
Yeah, we're at Addison Court Housing Cooperative.
Oh, you're local.
Right, Betsy's old place.
Well, we're not currently local. I mean, we're in Mexico now, but that's where we live. And this is the first I've heard about this public restroom. And I'm split on it, of course.
Yeah. Can
Well, that's what public restrooms are for, to sit down and be split on them. But in any case.
Well, do you want to talk about it?
This might be a next time.
Yeah, because it's the kind of thing, yes. And in fact, just so you know, I was able to call Jeff, and I'm requesting time on your next board meeting, the next community meeting at the co-op.
Yeah.
Talk about this. And
that's on Thursday.
Wow. But of course it's
she said community.
No community.
And hopefully you're there. And if you're not, I'd be glad to share a number and could talk to you about it.
Okay.
That would be great.
Yeah.
But you're the folks, you're right around the corner.
So this is the next board meeting?
You can afford to join, and you can vote if you join.
Thank you, Carol. All right. I feel like we're at our spot.
Yeah. I'm thank you. And there's so much more going on with each of us in our lives. And I hope we can make the April social, or Carol and Miss Cecilia are the phone callers. And I hope we can see you there if you're around. How long are you in Mexico?
Till the end of April.
Okay, so not in April, but in May, you'll hear word. We're going to have a social at Strawberry Creek Lodge.
Oh, okay.
And maybe a co-housing and adjacent tour that stops by.
He'll tell you all about it.
Okay.
All right. Well, sweet. I see.
Looking forward to seeing you.
Yeah, it'll be good to meet you in person too. It's when you do get home.
Yeah.
You see. Okay. Yeah. Last words, Norma. I know Dave often leaves us with a poem, but I had asked you if you would say some remarks about your life as a woman in history. Is Norma still there?
Yeah, I am.
I didn't follow up with you on that, but do you want to say some last words, and then Dave will close us out?
Thanks. It is interesting. I'm going to send you all a note. For one thing, Committees of Correspondence for Democracy and Socialism broadcast one of the most brilliant presentations from the most exciting women I've ever heard in one place. And I'm trying to get it to send it to you to watch. I know you'll love it. That's one thing. The other thing is these people, Douglas and Kathy, are in San Miguel Allende, where there is a community of expats. And they put on a broadcast every Monday, well, frequent Monday mornings, where they have a speaker come, and I make a point of always going to those, connecting to those meetings. So, and I'll send you that the next time the next presentation they have, and you can all make your own connections on a weekly basis when they have them.
Okay.
Gracias.
That'd be great. That'd be great. I did not know that.
Yes, yes, we did not know too much. Our media very carefully, they're owned by our owners. And that's the other thing, I tell people we're slaves and they go, I'm not a slave. Well, you fucking are. You have no control over your labor, and your labor enriches our owners and breaks the earth.
If it was good once, it's still good.
Yeah.
Douglas?
If it was good once, it's still good.
Oh, God. Okay.
All right, guys.
All right, Dave, last words, if you have some.
I have last words, but I have a great excerpt from an essay by Ursula Le Guin, but it will take me 3 minutes. Is that all right?
3 minutes.
If any of you would like to stay for the last 3 minutes.
You'll be missing a lot if you don't stay for this.
All right, I see at least one nod, and those of us in the room.
I don't have a gun, and I don't have even one wife, and my sentences tend to go on and on and on with all this syntax in them. Ernest Hemingway would have died rather than have syntax or semicolons. I use a whole lot of half-assed semicolons. There was one of them just now. That was a semicolon after semicolons, and another one after now. And another thing, Ernest Hemingway would have died rather than get old. And he did. He shot himself. A short sentence. Anything rather than a long sentence, a life sentence. Death sentences are short and very, very manly. Life sentences aren't. They go on and on, all full of syntax and qualifying clauses and confusing references and getting old. And that brings up the real proof of what a mess I have made of being a man. I am not even young. Just about the time they finally started inventing women, I started getting old, and I went right on doing it, shamelessly. I have allowed myself to get old and haven't done one single thing about it with a gun or anything. Here I am, old. When I wrote this, I was 60 years old, quote, a 60-year-old smiling public man, unquote, as Yeats said. But then he was a man, and now I am over 70, and it's all my own fault. I get born before they invent women, and I live all these decades trying so hard to be a good man that I forget all about staying young, and so I didn't. And my tenses get all mixed up. I just am young, and then all of a sudden I was 60 and maybe 80, and what next? Not a whole lot. I keep thinking there must have been something that a real man could have done about it, something short of guns, but more effective than oil of Olay. But I failed. I did nothing. I absolutely failed to stay young. And then I look back on all my strenuous efforts because I really did try. I tried hard to be a man, to be a good man, and I see how I failed at that. I am at best a bad man, an imitation, phony, second-rate him with a 10-hair beard and semicolons. And I wonder what was the use. Sometimes I think I might just as well give the whole thing up. Sometimes I think I might just as well exercise my option, stop short in front of the 5-barred gate and let the Nazi fall off onto his head. If I'm no good at pretending to be a man and no good at being young, I might just as well start pretending that I'm an old woman. I am not sure that anyone has invented old women yet, but it might be worth trying.
Oh, I love her.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you,
Dave. Thank you, every Gray Panther and prospective Gray Panther, future and past Gray Panther. Thanks for showing up today, and come on down to the library if you want a few more snacks.
Put that in
check your calendar. We don't have this confirmed for next. No, next month will be all virtual.
I'm about to put that in chat.
Okay, Dave is.
If Rains will give me 60 seconds to log
save
on.
your chat. I see lots of messages, and thank you, everybody.
And Carol, put me a piece of cheese on that cracker on your plate.
That's my limit.
For you.
Thank you.
Eventually we'll work out how to get the refreshment shared on Zoom. I'm sure they're working on it.
Thank you, everybody.
I put my address in the chat for you to access.
Have a great day. I want to send you
Thank
the
you.
email. Hannah.
I have put my address in the chat for you to access if you want a copy of the chat.
Your email, you mean?
Yeah, my email.
Okay,
We'll see.
thank you.
You might just try save chat. We should get it automatically.
I don't see it.
It's,
Okay. Betsy has.
It's about in the middle of the chat.
It's not on tablet.
Okay, I'm gonna put it in again. I'll put my address in
You won't have
and
it,
you
Carol.
Oh,
that's okay. That's great,
It's
Norma.
fine.
And anyone who has a tablet
It didn't work.
will email you.
It said click here to get invited and then it didn't let me invite.
Okay, good night. And thank you everyone who's.
Have a great day.
Good night.
It's really good to see
Night.
you, Hannah, and Doug and Kathy. They're Mexican and Ecuadorian
yeah.
Take care.
participants. And bye-bye, Arlene.
Who said,
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Norma.
who said have a great day, Robert?
Me?
Did you say have
Somebody.
a great day?
No.
Somebody said
Denying it, Norma.
it. Okay.
The dog lovers say have a great day.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Thank
did
you so
not.
much all the
You have
time.
to back up to the couch.
I'm glad you didn't make it on.
Butt on the couch.
It is so hard to sign up to this
His
Zoom.
front feet Okay. Post office. Very scattered. So, but the Social Security.
Find out if it's on third. All right. And then. And then, so that's good money. You pay their money. Have you been able to get?
Is it too long? Is that why it's not letting me have?
SSI. They do it like, you know, you can push back.
Still not.
Some.
I have no idea.
pay every, we didn't pay back so much of the money.
It's for the whole thing.
That's too long? Oh, no, that's not everything. That's not everything.
No.
Okay, I'll email it to you.